One disclaimer, if you're gonna follow this as a tutorial, just to let you know, I am winging it. It is time to do an upgrade to lathe that I have been meaning to do for probably at least a year and a half, and I've been putting off because I don't like any of my solutions. Here's the problem. This spare tire has never had a good place to go. Under normal circumstances, there's a spot under the back that you can put it under there, hook it up, crank it up, and it sits neatly tucked up against the body. I didn't realize when I bought this van that that piece, it's not there. And I looked and I looked and I could not find the right piece to go under there and the crank to hook to it to make it all work. So at some point I said, screw it. So this tire has been bolted up here against the wall, riding around for a long time, and it's really in the way and it eats up a ton of space. So now this tire is gonna leave and it's gonna go here. No, this is not the best solution. I would love to have a beefy place for it to be, but I don't. I don't want it on the roof because I already have enough wind resistance and I don't want it sitting up there where it's a pain to get at. So, tire's gonna go there. Is this the ideal solution for my tire problem? Hell no. I would love to have a nice beefy rack that mounted right here to the hinges, but the hinges are buried inside there. That doesn't work so well. Don't want to put it on top because who wants to try and schlep a tire off the top of a roof and back off? Plus, I don't need any more wind resistance than I've already got. So the old Surco 200 fits everything rack, which I'm dubious about, that's where it's gonna go. Now, if you're a rational person, you're thinking, you're gonna put a tire onto that and it's not gonna fall apart? No, I don't trust that. So I got some steel plates, overpriced steel plates, that I'm gonna put on the inside to back everything up and spread that load out a little bit, and maybe just not destroy the door. All right, the first step is to get that liner panel off. If you have all the tools, it's probably pretty easy. There's just a few clips holding that plastic against this wall. I don't have those tools. Got a pry bar though. If you're thinking to yourself, it looks like he's done that before. Yeah, I've done it a few times. Now, my big concerns here are not having my bolts get in the way of anything, or run into anything, or etc., etc. Luckily, there's not much in here to fight against. This door is relatively empty. These are the only things I have to really worry about. I guess it's time to fix my hair and punch some holes in this door. Positioning is tough. Nothing quite fits here, but I think this is gonna work. I have some concerns because the plates are welded at 90 degrees to the frame. As you can see, that leaves me a little gap there, and it leaves me a gap there. So I'll have to figure out how to deal with that. But hey, it's always something, right? Next problem. I need to make sure before I put this thing all together that the tire is gonna clear the bumper. I really would like this to be higher, but I don't know that I can pull that off. All right, I have verified that the tire will fit here and not rub on the bumper. Now it is time to do the part that gives me palpitations. Drilling holes. Right or wrong, I have 4 holes in my door. I think they're gonna be good. Now, to modify my rack, because, well, I'm a redneck and we have to overkill everything. Here are the lovely little, and let me emphasize little, bolts that they sent with that carrier to hold up my tire. 4 of those. Oh God, no. We're going with 4 3/8 as opposed to whatever those are, grade 8 bolts. This, of course, means I have to retrofit the rack to fit my new bolts. It's more work. It's fine. Since I just punched 2 holes in the nice painted metal, little rattle can of black to help keep them from rusting. Again, because I'm rednecking this up, I got a few considerations. One, a little bit of rust protection on these would be good. And secondly, something to keep them from rattling if for some reason they didn't fit quite right or there was an edge that was loose. The solution? I had a roll of Vicor floating around. So I'm going to put a layer of this between between the plate and the door, and that should stop any potential rattles. And I'm going to prevent any rust for any moisture that gets between the 2 surfaces. All right, I got the plates covered, and I also did the backs of the bracket to help give them a little less rub on the metal to wear off the finish and cause rust. And you know, just cause. I'm going to use some smaller pieces around the bolts. I'm going to add some extra strips because they aren't sitting flat against the surface of the van. So I'm kind of worried about water infiltration there. So I'm going to put 2 or 3 strips on just around the bolt to beef that up and make it work. And hopefully it'll stay watertight. But wait, before I forget, there's one important step before you put that bracket on the van. It's to put the carrier bolts that are going to hold your tire on first. They have these little metal clips, and from what I've read online, it's kind of a pain in the ass to do once it's on your van. So, well, you got it flat on a table. Put those bolts on. Neat trick to use a socket to hammer those on, isn't it? I just thought of that. Right there is what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see that gap right there. That's going to be a problem. One size does not fit all. You can see I'm going to have a gap right there too. So a couple layers of that material I think are going to be required. Hey, you know those stupid little bits that fit everything? Every nut, screw, whatever. They do come in occasionally handy. Don't discount them. In this case, it's just setting these bolts into the holes. Perfect. All right, got that first one in there. See, this is what I was worried about, a little extra play in that plate. These 2 are pretty easy to get to. This one down here, can't reach that, so I'm going to use those vice grips to tighten it down. And I just realized I didn't put the plate on there. That's stupid. Bobby, you'll go in there. Ow! Okay, 1, 2, 3 plates in place. I'm gonna remember to take the vice grip out of the door. And there we have it. 1 tire carrier. This squished out nicely, so it should make a good seal. There it sits. At some point, I will need to go get some conical nuts to fit on there so it doesn't damage the threads, although this tire's a little rough. All in all, it feels pretty solid. The door doesn't feel like it's taking a lot of abuse, and honestly, this door doesn't get opened that much anyway. So I'm pretty happy with this. Would I have liked this to have been a better fit? Yep, and I'll probably trim some of this excess off, but I think that's gonna seal that up nicely. My plates that I bought were definitely oversized. I went 3 by 6, 4 by 6, something like that. They probably could have been half that size and been effective, but definitely they feel a lot more secure with those in there. I think that's about it as projects go. This was about 2 hours. Needed my drill, some drivers, some patience, and of course the pry bar to get the panel off the inside. All right, I will put a link in the description for everything I needed to do this job. So in case for some reason you need to put your spare tire on the back of your Chevy Express. And my condolences if you do. All right, I'm Cliff, that's Leif, and I'm gonna go wash my hands and eat some lunch. See you next time.